Hello and welcome back. Today we are talking about factoring and factoring perfect square trinomials. So let's get started. At the top of the page, you will notice a familiar problem that we did before. This is called squaring a binomial. When you see an a minus a b squared or an a plus a b squared, you can either FOIL it or you can use these trusty little formulas over here. But what you're going to get as the answer every single time you square a binomial is a perfect square trinomial. And the answer is usually going to look something like this. And you know that it's a perfect square trinomial because the first term is a square, the last term is a square, and the term in the middle is the root of the first and last terms multiplied times 2. For example, the root of the first term here is x. The root of the second term here is 5. So essentially you have a 5x. Well, that's a terrible looking 5. Okay, so you have a 5x. And then you multiply that times 2. And you should get the middle term. So that's how you know it's a perfect square trinomial. The reason why it's important to ask these questions is because there are other types of trinomials, and those types of trinomials, you're going to use different methods in order to factor them. So you ask yourself, when you suspect that it might be a perfect square trinomial, you ask yourself these questions, and you make sure that the middle term is the root of the first and the last multiplied times 2, and then you can proceed. And what the goal is when you're factoring a trinomial is to get the original term, and the original term would be a binomial squared. So you take those factors. When you find out that it does equal the middle term, you take those factors of 5 and x and you put them in a binomial. In any order, it doesn't matter. Usually, mathematically, you're going to use the variable. You're going to put the variable to the left. It just looks better that way, and that's the way it's done a lot of times. But you put both of those factors that you got, not factors, but the roots. You get both of those roots from the first term. You get the root from the first term, the root from the last one, put them in binomials, and just put a square on it, and you're done with that. Okay, so let's do another one quickly. Okay, 9y squared plus 42y plus 49. Okay, and so looking at it, you get a pretty good, a feeling that you might be dealing with a perfect square trinomial. If you see something like this on your homework assignment and you've been doing factoring, you might suspect that it is a perfect square trinomial. Well, you're going to ask yourself, is the first term a square? Yes, the first term is 3y times 3y. Is the last term a square? Yes, it is 7 times 7. So these are your roots. The roots of 3y and 7. So we're going to put these together as a 21y. You multiply them together. If they have coefficients, multiply the coefficients. So you want to ask yourself, is the second term the roots of the first and the last times 2? Well, 21y times 2 equals 42y. So yes, it is a perfect square trinomial. So what you want to do then is put your parentheses down and put the factors. I'm sorry, I have. You only need one set of parentheses because it's a binomial squared. It's easier to just write it as a binomial squared instead of its expanded form. So we're going to put the factors inside of here. We're going to put 3y and 7. The middle term is positive, so you're going to have a plus sign. and don't forget to put your square. And you're done with that one. Okay, let's do one more. This one is not going to have a coefficient on the first term. It's just going to be x squared. Okay, so x squared minus 20xy. We had to do one with a minus. Plus 100. And once you do these, you'll begin to see how it's a perfect trinomial square. The first term breaks down to x times x, so the root would be x. This last one is a 100y, 10y times 10y, so that breaks down to 10y. You put that together nicely as 10xy. And then you want to see if the second term is without, don't worry about the minus sign yet. With these trinomials, we deal with that at the end. So you want to figure out if the second term is 2 times this 10xy. And it is. It's 20xy. So you write down your, you get your little brackets, your parentheses, and you put the factors in the roots inside of there. The root was x, and 10y was another one. Okay, but remember how the middle term here had a minus sign in front of it. So that's what you're going to have right here. And don't forget your square. So this was the original problem that resulted in the perfect square trinomial up here. And once you factor it, you should get a binomial squared, which is the original problem. Okay, so we've done 3 of those. You know how to deal with, you know how to identify whether it's a perfect square trinomial. You know how to deal with one where the terms are all positive, and you know how to deal with one where the middle term is negative. So the next thing we're going to do is continue on factoring trinomials, because there are a couple different types of these, and you're going to factor them differently. Okay, that's all for today. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.